All right, hey everybody, I am back with another Disney recipe. So we're going to be doing something inspired by a recipe at the Magic Kingdom. We're going to be doing a Mickey cinnamon roll. There's lots of different sort of versions of cinnamon rolls. It's more of the cinnamon bun. So there's lots of cinnamon roll, cinnamon buns at Disney. There's one at Gaston's Tavern that's more of like the sort of fluffy square shaped one. But the one that I'm going to be doing is the Mickey cinnamon bun. I'll put in a picture right here so you can see what it looks like. It's a little bit denser, it's a little bit more bread-like, and it has like big swirls of royal icing on it. During Halloween, they do Halloween color icing. During Christmas time, they do Christmas color icing. I'm just going to do plain white icing today. And then for the filling, I'm going to do traditionally the cinnamon bun, the Mickey bun has just sort of like a cinnamon sugar filling. I'm going to use a little bit of almond paste and some nuts in mine to give it just a little bit more character. I'm going to link to the recipe that I'm using down below. I am cutting it in half because I do not need 12 of these. So let's talk about my ingredients first, and then we'll put together the dough. So the dough itself is a pretty standard cinnamon bun dough. I start off with half of a cup of lukewarm milk with half of a packet of active yeast, and I sprinkled in a little bit of sugar in there. It's been sitting for about 10 or 15 minutes so that it's kind of coming to the full activation. In my bowl, I have 2 1/4 cups of just plain all-purpose flour. I have 1 egg that's been sitting out so that it's a little bit at room temperature, so it's not super cold. I have 1/4 of a cup of plain white sugar, and then 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And then the last ingredient is going to be my butter. This is a great tip. So for my butter, what I've done is I've taken my 1/4 of a cup of butter, which is half of a stick, and I've grated it on a grater so that it's in nice fine little pieces just like that, so that it'll get nice and incorporated into my flour, and then I won't have any big chunks or anything. All right, so basically all I'm going to do for this dough is I'm just going to combine all of the ingredients, put it together, and then I'm going to pop it in the oven and let it proof for about an hour. All right, so I'll see you back in just a second. All right, so I've got all my ingredients here. Just going to make a little well. Let's see, first I'm going to add in my butter. All right, the butter has been kind of softened just a little bit so it's not ice cold. I'm going to mix that in. I'm going to add in my salt and my sugar. All right, and then I'll make a little well in the middle. In goes my milk and my yeast. My egg. So the dough came together pretty quickly. There it is, nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same bowl, drizzle a little oil inside, put my dough in there, cover this with some plastic wrap, and then I am going to just let it rise for about an hour, and then we will come back and Joe has proof, so it is ready right here. Just going to kind of pat that down just a little bit. For my filling, I'm just going to take, like I said, a little bit of this almond paste, and to that I'm going to mix in about 3 tablespoons of butter, melted butter. So I'm just going to mix that up. So the recipe as written is just butter and then the cinnamon sugar, or the brown sugar and the cinnamon on top. So I'm going to add on the cinnamon paste, or excuse me, the almond paste, and then the brown sugar and cinnamon. I'm going a little bit less on the brown sugar and the cinnamon. I've got about 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar and maybe about half of a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then on my almond paste, I have probably about, I would say about 6 ounces of that. And then we're just gonna have to play around with the amount. I might need a little bit more or a little bit less, just depending on my cinnamon rolls. Right, so switch over to our dough. So I'm gonna aim to make about 4. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna flour my workspace, and then I'm going to roll this out to a rectangle that's about the same. It's kind of like pretty thin. So I want to make sure that my sides are pretty uniform. I'm just using my bench scraper to help me out. So the idea here is that I'm going to roll this out and then divide it into 4, and then each fourth will be 1 cinnamon roll. So, working with one of these at a time, let's start with this big one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's nice and even thickness. I'm going to level this off. Something in there. Okay. So I'm going to take some of my almond paste. Okay, so for these last two, if you can tell, what I did was I actually combined those two sheets of dough to make one long one. That way I have longer, thinner strips. So we're gonna see how this works. The first one that I made actually came out pretty well, but we're gonna see how this one looks. I wanted to get a shorter, like, bun, but with a bigger circumference. And so in order to get that, I needed longer, thinner pieces. So I decided to just combine the two pieces of dough. I think this is going to work out pretty well. This is a little bit more, this is a little closer to what I was thinking. The first two that I did, you'll see that they're a little bit taller and a little bit like more squished. I wanted something a little bit bigger. So there are my ears, and now the head is going to be really long. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to combine these two pieces. Very messy. I did use a little bit more of that almond paste. I know this is going to be going off camera. There we go. There. That's a little bit closer. It's a little bit shorter, which is what I really wanted. Alright, so we are back. We are finished. Here they are. They look lovely. Very nice. You can see the different styles. So this one is the taller one, the first ones that I did. They don't look too bad. I do like all the little swirls in the thinner ones, so those are really nice too. I think I'm actually just going to take this first one with the big swirls here. I'm going to finish that one up. I'm going to lift this guy up. They've cooled down for a little bit. So sticky. Okay, put this on here. Okay, I'm going to save these for later. So here is going to be the one that I'm going to do right now. Alright, so I'm going to glaze the top. They're still warm. So I'm going to mix together this glaze right here. It's just some powdered sugar with some milk. And I want this to be on the thinner side. And then what I'm going to do is that glaze, once I'm done with it, I'm going to add a little bit more powdered sugar, and then that's going to be the drizzle that goes on top. Alright, so here we go. So this would be really good with, you know, some flavorings or some extracts. That would be really nice on here. So, again, a little bit thinner. Brush this on. Let's see how. Yeah, that's good. So it is still warm because I want it to kind of melt into all of the nooks and crannies. And then I'm going to go back in with the drizzle and then drizzle that on top. Okay, all right, so here it is. It's nice and cooled down. It looks great. It has nice like pools of frosting right in there, right in the glaze. It's cooled down. So I took the rest of the glaze and I thickened it up a little bit with a little bit more powdered sugar. I'm actually gonna add in just a little bit more. I want something a little bit thicker that's gonna hold a nice line of frosting. So I want it to be quite thick. There we go, that's good. And then normally I would do this in a piping bag, but I'm really only just gonna pipe this one. So I'm just gonna use a Ziploc bag. So I have a Ziploc bag in here. It's being held by this cup. So it's a good tip if you're ever just on your own and you don't have someone to help you out. All right, so fill that with the rest of the glaze. All right, so here we go. All right, I'm going to cut off the tip. And then I'm going to go the other way. All right. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just let that cool down a little bit. I want that last bit of frosting to just harden up. And then once it's done, we will be ready to eat them. I mean, I could probably eat them right now. All right, so that is it for this week, you guys. This is just like the one, well, it's close enough to the one on Main Street. It's not quite the same, but it's gonna be close enough. Looks pretty good. I ate it one. I always eat one before I finish them. So I ate one. It is really delicious. It's really light and fluffy. The thing that I remember about the one on Main Street is that they're very like dense and almost hard, a little hard, but these are really, really fluffy. So definitely give these a try. Thanks for joining me, you guys, in my kitchen this week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.